Hello, thank you for joining me.
Hello, Dave.
Pleasure.
Presence of Legends. It is an honor to have you in here, but the first thing I got to ask you, Eugene, how did you ever convince the CBC to allow you to air a show, or allow them to air a show called Schitt's Creek?
Well, it wasn't that hard. We convinced them, rightfully so, that the name that we were using from the title, which was spelled Schitt, is a legitimate family surname, which you can find in phone books in every city around the world. And the argument was, if you had anybody, let's say, who was doing a news broadcast, and they were being interviewed, where you super the person's name as they're being interviewed, and their name happened to be Schitt, spelled Schitt, would you super the name under the person, or would you not?
You forgot the C.
SCH.
Did he really?
Yeah, you said SHITT.
No, I think I said SCH, but I said it quickly.
Okay, I apologize.
You're probably right, though.
Oh, boy, have you upset him now?
And that was the thing. I said, "This is would you super the name or would you not?" They said, "Well, we would super the name," and they got the argument that this is a legitimate name. So that was pretty much, how we, kind of got it through. It wasn't a really strong push on our part. They relented very easily. But I mean, that's the thing about the name. There's been a lot of listen, we knew there would be a great kind of titillation factor about the name, but the name is the perfect name for this show because it aptly describes what is happening to the family now, this wealthy family that have lost their money, and the fact is this family did buy this town as a joke, and the reason they bought the town was because the town was called Schitt's Creek. And now the joke has backfired, and this is the only place they can afford to live. There's no other title we could come up with that is a better title than Schitt's Creek.
It's perfect for the townsfolk, too, because that is their surname. Chris Elliott's character, he's the mayor. His name's Roland Schitz, and he's the mayor, and his great-grandfather started the town. So for them, it's pride of name.
Yeah.
Yes, it's pride of name. There's no joke there for them, and there's no joke for us because we're so depressed to be there. So it's all about maybe just hearing about the title and laughing about it. But once you're into the show, it's not a joke.
No, not at all. And someone who comes from a band with a swear word name, I know the power of the swear word to kind of stay with you. Do you think that the name, obviously, there's the titillation factor that you described, but do you think it also serves another purpose, that you will not forget the name Schitt's Creek anytime soon?
Well, I mean, one of the things about the name is that we knew it would be kind of conversation around a water cooler the day after the show airs, and I think people kind of enjoy saying it in a way. I mean, we've been doing, some talk shows.
It's a fun word.
Promoting the show, and, every host of the show can't get over the fact that they legitimately can say Schitt's Creek on television.
We're so restrained as broadcasters that we just need people like yourself to let us have that freedom to express ourselves.
You're right. It's a little gift given
Exactly.
to you by the Levy men.
And I'm very happy to open that gift anytime I can.
Yeah. And one day we might be able to actually hear the name of your band.
Well, it's spelled with a PH from now on. Now that I know your trick, I'm going to start spelling with a PH, so we have to say it because it's a legitimately family name now, right?
I'm sure it is somewhere.
Well,
Somewhere.
one
Highland.
day.
One day.
Maybe not in my lifetime, but
In the show, Eugene and Catherine, you guys both play the Roses. Oh, no, do not worry.
Sorry.
Incredibly wealthy family that has fallen on hard times and forced to live with the commoners in Schitt's Creek. They're pretty unlikable people in many different ways, and a lot of the comedy comes from that clash with these people in this small town. Where did the original idea for this show kind of come from? I guess back to Eugene for this one.
well, my son, Daniel, came to me about 3 years ago with an idea to do a television show and wanted to know if I would work on it with him. And of course, I was very excited about that. And he had this idea about a wealthy family that kind of loses their money. And, it's kind of based on, how familiar TV audiences are now with wealth. That with all the reality shows that are on the air now, going back to, must be, Homes of the Rich and Famous. Remember that
Oh, yeah.
Lifestyles
Rich
of the
and
Rich and Famous? That was back in, I don't know when, maybe even as far back as the mid '80s or late '80s
maybe.
or something.
Or even Green Acres prior to that.
Right,
And then the Osbournes, and then the Kardashians, and we're now into just seeing people with money, and we're kind of the fly on the wall in these households, and what it would be like if these families that had money suddenly do not have money, they don't have anything. What would the dynamic in the family be? And we can still be a fly on the wall. I think that was at the core of what the idea was for the show, and he came to me because he knew that the films that I did with Chris Guest, those 4 kind of comic documentaries, had a tone to them that is kind of what he also wanted, which was a character-driven show, kind of based in a reality, not too necessarily jokey, but the characters have to carry the day, so to speak. So, we were in sync on that, and we just started.
Well, you bring up the characters, and I think one of the great things about the show is the way the 4 different Roses react very differently to this new hopeless situation that they find themselves in. Was that a conscious thing, or was that just the actors like yourself, Catherine, bringing that to the role, or did you want them to have, like as the father figure, it's all like, how do we get out of this? And as a mother actress figure, it's very much wallowing in the tragedy of it all.
And get me out of this. I'm not coming up with any ideas.
Yeah.
But that was there in the script, and then Eugene and Dan gave us, some freedom to play with that. So we were inspired by, as far as our own characters, inspired by, of course, Eugene and Dan are great writers, so they want the characters to be different. You don't react as one. I remember that in Second City. A lot that happened with the 2 girls. There'd be 3 guys, 4 guys. They'd say, a guy does this, then there's a boss, then there's something. And then 2 girls come in. It's like we're sharing one brain. We have half a brain each. So no, the writing for this is not like that.
Well, sure, you were hard to write for because you were girls.
Girls, because you had those things on you.
Yeah, we're doing a comedy show.
But I think it's also just...
Whoa.
Hey.
I don't know why if I wasn't a woman.
And now moving on to the next question.
Oh, it's getting hot in here.
But a lot of it is like the way different family members would react to a different situation, as a patriarch, you would feel this societal burden.
Yeah, well, I'm also the businessman. I'm kind of the guy that made the money in the family, and my approach, as we laid out on paper, was that Johnny Rose would be the guy who looks at this very pragmatically and says, this is like any business catastrophe. How do you deal with it? You put the blinders on and you kind of go step by step. What is my next step? What do we do after that? And so his approach is, we're in a horrible situation. Somebody has to be calm, somebody has to think rationally, and somebody has to be able to kind of make the moves to start initiating their getting out of this horrible situation. I knew that my son David's character would also have a very difficult time being in this town, only because he grew up in a very spoiled kind of avant-garde world of, owning galleries. His world was installation art. And being in Schitt's Creek is just not going to be working out for him.
Not a huge gallery scene in Schitt's Creek.
Not a huge gallery scene in Schitt's Creek, nor a lot of necessarily understanding about anything remotely to do with the concept. And Moira, Catherine's character, we knew would also have a very difficult time being in this town, and I think what what Catherine kind of brought to the character over and above the character as we originally wrote it really made Moira Rose not fitting into this town so much more fun than we had originally, conceived on paper.
Oh, thanks.
She's having a bad time in this town.
I'm not a secure person.
No.
Moira's not secure and probably doesn't know who she is wherever she's been. And now it's like the world is ripped out from under her, and it's just, and not knowing. I always love characters that are kind of stupid yet cocky and have no sense of the impression they're making on the people around them. So she thinks she's a people person and she's handling this well, but it's just her life is just everything she knew is gone. She doesn't know where she is, and she's trying not to punish Johnny for getting us there. It's fun. And Alexis, Annie's character is just does not know any different. She
seems to be hoping that someone's going to come save her at a certain point too.
She's just spoiled and just a little bit of an airhead, and she doesn't the catastrophic effect of what's happened to this family hasn't really sunk in to a large degree with her, because she can adapt very easily. I mean, she gets distracted very easily by things, so she doesn't really realize, how bad off the family is at this point.
I love about her too, maybe I'm misinterpreting, but I love that she, Daniel's character is just old enough to be starting, he's decided who he is and who he's going to be, and she's not there yet. She's young enough that she's completely ungrounded to begin with. So it's like, okay, where am I now? And she's looking for a party, and she's looking for some guy to like, and it's still, for her, it hasn't changed as much as it should have really.
Right. Right.
I guess, Catherine, back to your character in particular, you've made no kind of secret about the fact that you tend to be very picky when it comes to picking the roles that you choose. What was it about this character?
I think that's part of the job,
by the way. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not.
As an actor?
That's
probably why I've never made a movie.
I'll take anything if there's a paycheck.
I think you should protect your gifts.
There's that legendary story about Beetlejuice, about how you're reluctant to play the role in Beetlejuice. I don't know.
I like that you think it's legendary. It's my little story. But no, it's just...
Legendary in this room from now on.
I was holed up in my house in Toronto, and they kept asking me to come and meet some guy, and then, I don't know.
Well, what does it take to get you to take a role? Like, what was it that brought you to this role? Like, what gets you to take
Eugene tricked me somehow.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. He knows
Subterfuge.
how to play me, this guy. No, I should be so lucky. I don't know. I think I'm lazy as well. So whenever I get offered anything, it's like, how long do I have to leave the house? And I also have 2 kids. Now they're 20 and 17, but still I have a 17-year-old, and he shouldn't be left alone. My husband's there, but he shouldn't be left alone.
But I think there was something generally about television that was kind of scary for you, which is when you sign for a series, it is generally a long commitment. It's not good. It's not as long for us here as it would be if you were doing a network show where you have to sign for like 7 years when you sign to do a pilot. So the idea of committing to a show where you don't necessarily know creatively whether you're going to be in sync with the people who are doing the show, and if you're not in sync with the people who are doing the show, then it could be a long 7 years if this thing is going not the way you want it to go. And I think all that was kind of going through your head when I was trying to, get you on board for this thing.
Yes, except at least you were not a stranger, and I knew how you work, from our experience, at least I knew how you'd worked up till then, and I know you're a smart writer and all of that. There was going to be good quality. It was only the idea, I think, scared me about working for any length of time because I'm lazy. But then Eugene, they gave me the pilot and we said, do that. Let's for fun. Let's do this and see what it feels like. So, okay, finally, yeah. But then when it came down, and then Eugene called me and said, wow, CBC's going to buy this show. I was like, wow, they're actually going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to do it. It's going to be in Toronto. You love Toronto. It's going to be, and then I finally wised up and thought, how lucky am I at any time in my life, especially now in my life, to be offered what a fun job and to be invited to collaborate on, my character and to work with smart people that I already know and love. People would say no-brainer, but really, apparently I had no brain for a while there. But I wised up.
So the idea of rich people losing everything and being forced to kind of wallow with the commoners is something that in televised comedy is a canonical kind of show, be it Green Acres, as aforementioned, but Arrested Development more recently, and now Schitt's Creek. But with these types of shows, you have to make these rich people as unlikable as possible. Was it hard trying to find the humanity in these characters in Schitt's Creek?
Well, the big problem with this show was that you do have a family that on paper is, you can say, are kind of unlikable. There are traits that you would describe as unlikable.
Speak for yourself.
Okay? They live a lifestyle that, people would kind of dream to live, and they have their own, problems and, whatever that people wouldn't understand as problems. And so I think there was a potential for unlikability, and you now have a family that are in this show, and this show is going from week to week to week. And in order for a show to be successful, there has to be a likability factor with the people on the show. And
unless it's Kardashians or something.
Well, you can like somebody for being terrible too. Right?
You can like somebody for being terrible. I mean, there are a lot of shows that have, gone on for what Arrested Development or I mean, I'm sure there are
Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker, good example. Case in point, where there's a very bigoted guy, has got a family, treats his wife terribly, argumentative, so right wing, and yet it ran for 12 years. Extremely funny spin-off series. So the key, I think, is in the cast, and what helped to kind of bridge that potential problem was an amazing cast, including my son, Daniel, who and myself too. But I'm just so damn likable that it wasn't so much a problem for me. But the others I was thinking of on the show.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and everybody brought something, of this kind of likability to the cast. My son's character is, on paper, again, a very kind of character that would be very easy not to like. But he really, and I have to say, we've never worked together before. Daniel and I, it's our first project working together, and so much has kind of happened in the past 2 years, like things, his creative genius, so to speak, has just kind of blossomed before my eyes, and especially his on-camera performance, which is just so great and interesting and riveting in a way. It's just it's really funny. And again, what Catherine has done with Moira has just made her hysterical in so many ways. I mean, hysterical funny, but hysterical in the sense that there's so much going on with this character. Histrionics and the fact that she's a former soap star and brings this kind of affected actress quality to the role helped enormously for that character. So and Annie's just so great. Annie Murphy playing Alexis. She is this great find. She's so funny and has so many great moments that happen all at once when she's performing, so natural and so charismatic. You want to watch these people, and that was the key, the casting.
I would say, too, sorry, like you say, but they're so wealthy. It's a sad human phenomenon when you hear about somebody who just has too much. You don't like them before you meet them. I try not to be that way, but it's kind of a common thing that people do. Ooh, who are
it's
they?
a natural human kind of reaction.
It's like, how come I don't have that, or whatever. So you start with that, but then these are also people who are going through the worst tragedy in their lives. And relatively speaking, it's not, but for them, as I said, they've had their world ripped out from under them. So they're not on their best behavior. I mean, they're not at their best. They're so insecure at this point it's hard when you're that insecure to be friendly and to be the best,
Catherine, many of your characters throughout your career have had, and this is what I've been told to describe it as, an oblivious, very theatrical quality. This is what I would not
the
say
hell's writing
oblivious.
this crap?
Not me. I would never say
Who's
oblivious.
writing this SCHITT?
I do not know.
SCH.
But
Said that.
Oh,
But-
see
Oh,
how
see,
easy it is?
yeah.
there it is. It's really easy. See?
Excuse me.
But that was something that I found many of the characters in SCTV over the years had sort of these terrible actors that were oblivious and sort of lost the world. A lot of the characters that you would
Vegas
play.
characters. I
Exactly.
only had one Vegas character.
Well, I know, but it's one that stands out in people's minds and stuff like that. But also, in Best in Show, your character was also a little oblivious. She was
but I
definitely
was not
worldly.
theatrical.
No, not theatrical. Well,
Until I take these things personally.
okay, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm always defending Moira. You know, Eugene will describe her as a soap opera star. I go, I have so much more potential than just soap operas, okay? I'm always defending that.
But why do you think it is so funny to watch these sort of tragic, bad actors kind of struggle through life?
It's people who, again, sorry for me, it's people who don't have no idea the impression they're making on others and are so not grounded, ungrounded, and just flailing and so lost in their own insecurities that they can't see outside themselves. To me, that's just like the worst I could be. And I've been that in moments in my life, thankfully not too many. But those insecure moments in life just kill me. They're crippling. And to me, that's hilarious. It's just so sad that we can do that. Not to the point of suicide, because that's the ultimate of that. God bless them. But just that still, when we get, cheesy expression, but get in our own way. Kind of, you know, not outside ourselves.
How about yourself, Eugene? What is it about the bad actors that you find so comedic, or that people find so comedic?
They're just more fun to play. I
you
mean, they're
go.
just more fun to play. I mean, I've played a lot of, kind of, not the sharpest pencils in the drawer, so to speak. I think I pretty much carried myself through SCTV on characters that just didn't have a clue. I mean, they were
Bobby
all
Bittman.
kind of, Bobby Bittman was kind of a case and was kind of like the character you were describing.
Yeah.
Right, you have no idea the impression you make on people. His thinking he's so much greater than he is. Also, so much fun to play those characters, and just kind of like dumb, not the sharpest guy.
Bruno?
Woody Tobias Jr. I can go on. We don't have time for the list.
Sorry.
No.
I was thinking the other kind of dumb guy.
Oh,
There's
Brian
there's
John's
Bruno,
Money
so
Talks. I
sadly
mean,
dumb.
Brian John.
Oh,
There's a guy
yeah.
that had a
That's
show
great.
called Money Talks.
Jeez, how much did that cost?
Yeah, and the only thing really, said, so how rich are you? So many characters, including Jerry, Best in Show.
Yes.
Jerry
Fleck.
Fleck, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can say Fleck on radio.
I
can
hope
you?
so.
Okay.
It's
Just
spelled
no
F-U.
U's. Don't put a U in
No,
there,
no,
whatever you
no.
do.
So they're just fun, oddly enough, though, this is on this show, which is one of the reasons that I am really kind of excited about what I'm doing on the show. It is kind of different for me. It's a pretty straight character by design. Very good, real to life, not trying to be funny. He's not dumb, He's trying to be a good father. He's trying to be a good businessman. It's not their fault they lost their money. And I kind of enjoy kind of riding it straight. And it's always been a way to go for a character that I was always afraid of and always shied away from. I wrote a character on SCTV on a soap opera that I wrote called Days of the Week. Played a character called Dr. Sabian, which I thought, you know what, I'm going to just come on more or less looking like myself and talking like myself. And most of my scenes were with John Candy, who played a character called Dr. Wainwright. And we started working in the same facility, and John's character was so blusterous and funny and kind of aggressive but dim-witted and mustache and a heavy drinker and a good wig. And we did one show where I'm working with Dr. Wainwright, and after that show, I started writing myself out of the soap opera because I got bored of my character and, again, a little too afraid. So I thought, well, we can't go that way. You can't start being yourself because you're just not that, interesting. We spent years putting on hats and wigs and mustaches and doing character work, you know, that beyond, above and beyond. But when you going out as yourself was always a really scary
Yeah.
thing for anybody who's into character work.
You know, I think more so you and me. You think of John Candy, who had such, God bless him, such a strong persona, as they would call it.
Well, he was the
And
one guy
Andrea, Marty,
Yeah.
even Joe, because Joe Caballero was really Joe. They all they are strong characters, whereas you and I, we're just kind of, what can we play in this? Who can we play?
Yeah. So
besides
we
ourselves?
go for heavier makeup, we go for a heavier look, anything that makes us look not like ourselves.
Yeah, I just want to think from someone else's point of view. I don't, if I'm being myself, like today, I'm just a dullard. Sorry.
You're talking to this guy who's himself today and a bit of a dullard. But one thing you keep coming back to.
You two are making it very difficult for me personally.
Is that right, Dr. Sabian?
Yes.
Dr. Sabian.
You keep coming back to characters, and in this show, much like in Best in Show, it's a lot more about the humor coming from the characters over like a big pratfall punchline at the end. Why do you think it's important to have the comedy come from the characters, or why does it come from the characters as opposed to a punchline?
It's organic, and it stays with you. I think those kind of laughs stay with you.
Yeah. You
answer
have
properly.
if the audience, if the humor doesn't come from the characters, naturally from the characters, then you have to rely on jokes if you're doing a comedy. And the thing of it is, which is a way to go. And it's listen, we all love the Zucker brothers and Airplane and I mean, there's a slew of movies that are hysterical, but they're only as good as your last joke. And when the jokes stop being funny, basically the show stops. But with good character comedy, if you love the characters, you want to watch them again. You want to watch them the next week. You want to see where they're going and what they're doing. You want to follow them. You have to have an emotional involvement with the characters if it's going to mean anything. Any of the great shows that have been on television that we cited, like All in the Family, I mean, such strong character work, even though it was funny, but the characters were so endearing. Mary Tyler Moore show, Dick Van Dyke show. I mean, you have to love the characters. Everybody Loves Raymond, I thought was a great character comedy.
Modern Family too has
Where,
very strong characters.
And Modern Family. But if the audience doesn't have an emotional involvement with your characters, you're not going to have a future, to your show. They have to love the characters. And my particular brand of comedy, and I think I can speak for Catherine too, is that, the comedy has to come out of a real place to be funny for me. I mean, I like sketch comedy. We started out doing sketch comedy, and I enjoy watching it now. I'm not particularly interested in doing it now. But comedy that is grounded and everything coming out of a real situation, to me, is what's funny. Those are the movies that I enjoy, and those are the television shows that I enjoy, and that's what we tried to do with this show, was to make it a real show with real people that you care about and still make it funny, but the comedy has to come through the characters, not stand alone on a page.
Well, you mentioned sketch comedy there, and that's certainly a type of comedy that's come back into vogue in the last few years, and I'm here with arguably two members of the Rolling Stones of sketch comedy shows. So I kind of have to ask you, with shows like Portlandia, Key and Peele, Kroll's Show, Inside Amy Schumer, all coming back, what do you think it is in sketch comedy that keeps people coming back to it and keep reviving it?
Variety and speaking to what you believe. There's the whole satire element and the familiarity, although you as an audience didn't think of seeing it that way, but they make you see the things that you see every day and the people you see every day and the types of people that are around you. They make you see them in a new and clear way. And it is the variety, and it's fun to watch, like, in Portlandia to watch those two play so many great characters. And I thank you for reminding me of Key and Peele because I love that show. And one thing those shows have in common too is they're so well produced. I mean, our show was so cheap looking compared to that, and it was pretty great at the time. I think,
Well, it's
production
timeless
wise,
still, no matter production-wise.
But production wise, I'm just saying the production of the pieces on Key and Peele and Portlandia are just unbelievable.
Well, I guess
Really,
sorry,
beautiful. Sorry, no,
not to cut you off.
You better. Or I'll keep talking and saying nothing.
Please keep talking over me. Don't worry.
No,
Before
sorry.
we go any further, though, I've got to come to the last question, which is both of you are such an enduring duo in so many people's minds, including myself. What is it about the chemistry that keeps you excited to be working with each other? And I guess beyond that, what do you think the chemistry is between you guys that keeps audiences so insatiably hungry for the two of you
I
togeth
refuse. Don't.
I feel
don't
like going
even get
into a
sucked
chorus
that.
of a happy trails.
Don't get sucked into that question, Eugene.
Catherine has a thing about hearing anything complimentary.
No, it's about us talking about ourselves.
Yeah, talking about
It's
ourselves.
we used to do Sammy Maudlin. I don't know if you remember
Yep.
this
Oh,
on SCTV.
yep, absolutely.
Well, this guy here, no one has the talent. This guy's talent goes from, and now we're doing it in our way. It's coming from our faces and our voices, but I can't do it seriously. And if you
It's-
think that about us, that's lovely. And if anyone watches the show and thinks that about us or thinks that we're a team, thank you. But go ahead, but I will not get sucked into this anymore.
You like to work with the best people that you can work with. I mean, that elevates everybody's game.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine and
Nicely done,
Eugene.
dear.
It's been it is for me a huge honor to be sitting here with you right now. Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy are the stars of the new TV show Schitt's Creek, which premieres tonight at 9 on CBC.